I've been building ad-tech and martech products for the last 10 years. For the last 10 years, we've built products as a team, as a business, which have touched hundreds of millions of users across the globe. Right. I can talk endlessly about ad-tech, martech, and B2B SaaS. Right. So here we go. I'm also a founder of a business called iZooto. iZooto is an own audience marketing platform focused on helping publishers becoming less dependent on the likes of Google and Facebook. And we'll talk about more about this as we go along. Right? But more importantly, right, before we get into the future of digital publishers, it is important to understand where are we today. Right? And more importantly, how did we get where we are today in the first place? If you can recall this, right? So for the longest time in the history, right, the one thing that mattered the most for publishers and advertisers is attention of the end user. Attention has been the single most important currency in the advertising industry for decades. Right? Attention in the print world was traded by putting an ad on a newspaper. Because the newspaper had a reach to an audience, they would trade the reach of their audience against dollars with an ad. Right? This, for example, is a classic case of peak attention economy. The $1 million page. This was started by a student who wanted to sponsor his higher education. So he said, I will sell every single pixel on my website for $1. Right. And guess what? He actually was able to sponsor his higher education. Right. This is peak attention economy. People trying to sell pixels. People trying to sell your eyeballs on those pixels for dollars. Right. Having said that, fast forward to 2019, this is not really working out anymore, at least. Right. I mean, we all know how print is doing today as an industry. We all know how digital advertising is doing as an industry today. The attention economy is currently being challenged as we speak. And that's happening simply because our attention has been taken over by the likes of Google and Facebook and Amazon and Pinterest and Twitter and so on and so forth. Our attention is completely ruled by these four media giants. This is exactly what is pushing publishers, but literally squeezing publishers on a daily basis. In fact, if this was the poverty line of attention, publishers are right here, squeezed every single day by giants like Google and Facebook. More importantly, publishers are not only being squeezed, they're also being underserved. In fact, inefficiently served. And I'll give you an example of this. Let's do a simple exercise, right? On a mobile device, if you can, search for this word, marketing for publishers, and tell me what you're seeing right now. When I did this exercise, I saw this. Something similar? Let's do the same exercise for a different keyword. Marketing for e-commerce, and you would see a slightly different result. And that itself is a great testament of the fact that how underserved publishers in general are. Because when you search for this, you see ads. Businesses who are trying to chase e-commerce companies. Nobody out there is trying to chase publishers. In fact, the very few who are actually right now on this floor with us. How many of you have seen this? Right? This is a marketing landscape that is rolled out by Chris every single year. If you can see, 2011, 150 companies, total of 150 companies across the globe were in the marketing landscape. This includes everyone that you can think of, including Google, including Facebook, including Amazon. Fast forward to 2019, this list has grown by almost 100 times. Yet, only 436 companies in this list actually serve publishers, which, by the way, are the ones who are doing display ads and programmatic ads. which we all know doesn't really meet the bar, because 80% of the growth in advertising dollars goes to two players in this world, Google and Facebook. What that essentially means is, as an industry, not enough is being done for publishers. Everybody has been focused on only one thing and one thing and one thing, which is serving more ads, serving different ads, serving slightly more personalized ads, and so on and so forth, right? As an industry, we sort of need to start looking beyond ads. And by the way, this is a classic example. This is a classic explanation of what's really happening in the industry. What's happening is this: the value generation or the value extraction is being done by niche content writers or niche publications, or by the ones who are dictating the discovery of content. We swipe left for content on our Android devices. We go to Twitter to discover content. We go to Facebook to discover content. Right? The ones who are actually publishing content, which is the publishers, are getting the least amount of value from this entire exercise. This is exactly why there is a need of a subscription economy today in the market. The attention economy is now creating a parallel subscription economy, and it's extremely important for the publishing ecosystem to thrive and exist. Now, for the subscription economy to be in place, what really needs to happen is this following. Right? Now, a lot of times I've seen e-commerce funnels being drawn parallel to with publishers, right? And that's a bad analogy, simply because publishers don't really have a funnel. Publishers have a flywheel that keeps on rotating onto itself, right? And the way this typically works is this: out of the 100 visitors who come onto a publisher's website, 50% are flybys. They come and they go away. Simple as that. They would come, they would look at an article, they would watch a video, they would watch half a video, and they would bounce off from the website. Few of them are actually repeat users. They would have come back for the second time to complete an article, to comment on an article, to look at the score again, and so on. Some of them are actually email subscribers who would have come back to the website after seeing an email or a push notification subscriber. Some of them are actually loyal audience. They're loyal audience who wants to consume their content again and again and again and again and again and again. Right? Having said that, and very few of these people who come to the website of a publisher are actually paying members. People who have paid real, hard, green dollars or euros to consume that content. And these members are the ones who actually drive the flywheel for the publisher over and over again. Now, what we do now, again, before we jump into the future, we'll try to understand where are we today as an industry. And now I want to introduce the concept of Wardley maps for you guys. Wardley maps is a fantastic way of looking at or understanding where do you stand today. It covers two things. One, how does the value chain look like? And number two, how is the evolution going to be? And I'll give you a simple example. The value chain is nothing but breaking down all the components of a specific business need. So for example, if you want a cup of tea, you need tea and hot water. Hot water needs kettle and water. Kettle needs power. This is a classic breakdown of a value chain. Right? Now, at the same time, the evolution curve helps you understand how exactly have things moved in the past, right? And I'll give you a listing example of smartphones, right? We all remember the classic Nokia. The classic Nokia went to the classic BlackBerry. The classic BlackBerry went to the Android and the iOS. And today, smartphone is a utility. It's not something which is designed custom for someone. If you remember the Palm OS phones, they were completely customized for the first time. Right? Over time, they have become a utility for us as end users. When you map these two, you get what is in a sense called a It is very differential, it is exciting, it is uncertain. Over time, as it matures, right, it becomes ordered, known, measured, stable, structured, standard. And more importantly, it becomes a commodity. A classic example of this is content management systems. We've seen how WordPress over the last 20 years has made this a commoditized space. Today, CMSs are a utility for every single business. A CMS which was designed 30 years back, which was completely custom for a publisher, is no more the case today. WordPress, Drupal, Joomla, they typically meet all your requirements in principle. What also happens at this time is this. As a technology moves from being custom to being a commodity, competition keeps in the picture. Right? Because there was WordPress, there came Drupal, there came Joomla, there came Medium. Right? All these CMS platforms were trying to solve the same need because the market is really exploding right now. Now, what happens is this. A particular need which is being served by WordPress then gets into the Genesis stage. And then that starts again being in the competitive space. Right? This is the exact case where, a classic case of this would be ad servers. Ad servers for the longest time were completely customized, were being set up, scratch up for publishers. Fast forward to 2019, ad servers are taken for granted. Another example of this would be header bidding. Header bidding, for the longest time, header bidding was introduced a few years back. It was completely custom, right? And over time, it has become a standard benchmark in the monetization industry. What we do now is this. We essentially try to understand what does a Wardley map of a publisher look like. Let's sort of break this down to pieces now. A publisher has readers. Readers have attention. Attention needs to be allocated. Attention allocation requires an audience. It needs an allocator or an editor. The editor requires content. Audience can be owned or rented. When I say rented, you can buy the audience from Google and Facebook by paying dollars, or owned eventually would be your own marketing list, your own email subscribers, your subscribers of SMS or push notifications. Content can be original or can be syndicated. At the same time, the way an audience functions is an audience has an identity. Audience has given you permission. An audience has, on top of it, data about its own behavior. Every user who is part of the email list has once given you their email ID, they have confirmed their subscription, and you know some things about them, who they are, where they're from, what are they consuming, and so on and so forth. At the same time, allocation of attention essentially means you're trying to monetize this attention. How are you doing that? You're doing it through either ads or you're doing it through a paywall. Further, in terms of profiling, you can profile them via psychographics, demographics, or behavioral segmentation. At the same time, in terms of pure play audience engagement, you can engage them via multiple channels, SMS, app notifications, email, push notifications, and so on. More importantly, this is how a classic Wardley map of a publisher looks like. Now what this means is this. Original content, for example, will always be in a genesis stage. Publisher can't really buy content which is original in nature. It has to be created inside, in-house. At the same time, a publisher can comfortably pick up any email marketing provider off the shelf in the market because email marketing is a utility. A classic Wardley map helps us to understand where exactly do we need to invest in and where exactly can we use the market to buy products off the shelf and where exactly can we pick up literally anything in the market. Right. So for example, in case of email providers, a publisher can pick up
between a MailChimp and a MailGrid and a SendGrid and a constant contact, it really won't make a difference. At the same time, in terms of pure play segmentation, they can pick up Google Analytics, they can pick up Yandex Metrica, they can pick up Amplitude, Mixpanel to understand what's really happening at a user level. Classic products. These are also things which the publisher would not really want to invest in personally because it's not their core business. What's their core business? Their core business is creating original content and owning their audience. If you see, this also sort of fits in very well with classic print industry. The print industry forever had a death grip on their own audience. They always knew, they always had access to people who were buying newspapers from there. Now, this is the next step, which is wherein we break down advertising as direct and mediation, direct and programmatic. Now, if you look at the core components here, right, the core components are audience and content. Two things which are extremely important for publishers to succeed. Audience ownership is something which should remain core to a publisher business. At the same time, content creation is something which should again remain always integral to a publisher's business. Again, given all of this and assuming for a minute that Google is a publisher, which actually it is, given the fact that it owns multiple properties like YouTube, Google Play and so on, let's look at how are things at Google, for example. 94% of the search market is owned by Google, single-handedly, across the world. Out of this 94% searches which are happening on the internet, 50% of searches are catered without the user having to do one more click, which means you will get the answer right there on the search page itself. 40% of these searches require one genuine click happening on the search page. The remainder are catered by either it's being given directly to Google own sites, which is YouTube, Google Play and so on and so forth. Now, here is a very interesting trend to see. Over the last decade, you see this, it's like, over the last 3 years, number of clicks that have been going, clicks on the organic search results, this is the clicks which publishers get today from Google, has gone down by 54%. At the same time, number of clicks on the paid ads, the paid links of Google have gone up by 245%. The answer to this is very simple. When you place Google back on this Wardley map as a publisher, Google has always focused on owning the audience. When you log into YouTube and consume content, Google knows every single thing about you, including who you are and what you're doing, which essentially defines what own audience means. For that matter, Google's revenue, Google's margin on YouTube is 87%. Google's margin on an ad on your blog or website is 31%. Where do you think Google is investing today? Obviously, YouTube. Let's fast forward, and of course, there's this amazing tweet which came out, a few weeks ago, which says, and Google, by the way, has always been, Google over the past 2 years has rolled out some amazing updates which have impacted traffic of publishers across the globe, except their own sites. I have never seen YouTube's traffic going for a toss. How about Facebook? Good question. I'll tell you a quick story about this major league team. I come from India, and India is famous for cricket. Cricket is as famous in India as football is in Germany. Right? And IPL, which is the Indian Premier League, is like Bundesliga. Right? It's a famous league in the country. Kolkata Knight Riders, short or KKR, is a big IPL team. Right? They started playing IPL about 10 years ago, and in the 10 years they had invested in digital media very, very heavily. They built a fan base of 15, 16. That post was 0.05%. They got a call from Facebook. Hey, if you're not going to spend money on us, we will not let you reach your audience. Imagine the frustration of the marketing head of that team. How would he have felt that after investing so much time and money and resources in building this audience, which he felt was his own, and he was completely cheated by Facebook that day. That day, they decided to completely switch modes and build their own website so that they can own their audience. Again, for Facebook as well, Facebook has zero focus on content. Facebook does not create content. You and I create content for Facebook, right? But again, Facebook's grip on the ownership of audience is extremely high. Facebook, for lack of a better word, has a death grip on your audience as well. So, the question remains, what exactly do I mean by own audience? Own audience is fundamentally, okay, so this, by the way, is a classic example of own audience. You are right now my audience. I have your captive attention. Thanks for that. People who are walking by a booth right now are traffic. Traffic which is giving you their eyeballs, and that's pretty much it. Not their attention. You start owning them once that audience has given you permission to communicate with them by giving their email ID. So when I scan you on my booth, you become my own audience because now I have your permission to talk to you. This is exactly what is happening right now in the digital ecosystem. Because the likes of Google and Facebook and Amazon have built this massive database of own audience, they have a complete unfair advantage over every single publisher in the world. Own audience is everyone who has given you their email ID, everyone who has given you their subscription to push notifications, everyone who has installed your app, everyone who has given you their mobile number for WhatsApp notification, right? Everybody who has ever logged into your chat room. Fundamentally, people who have agreed, who have given you consent to talk to them, that's your own audience. So, finally, what will the future look like for digital publishers? Fairly simple and fairly straightforward. Number one, less dependency on Google and Facebook. I think we can all agree on this. No publisher ever said this. I want more and more traffic from Facebook and Google. That is just not happening anymore. Publishers, every single publisher I have met in this floor so far has clearly expressed the intent of we do not want all our eggs in one basket. For obvious reasons, because every time they release an update, every time Facebook has released an update in the past 12 months, including their focus shifting from likes to comments to videos, to comments on videos, to comments on friends' comments, the traffic of publishers has gone for a toss. That's one. Number two, building multiple revenue sources. This is exactly what is important for the future of digital publishers. They must expand and they must look beyond advertising as a single source of revenue. I'm not saying that advertising is bad. Advertising is a great channel of revenue. Just that they need to diversify and start thinking beyond advertising. Here's a quick glimpse of how that would look like in principle. Over the next 5 years, I expect that subscription revenue will start contributing the biggest chunk to advertising, to the total revenue for publishers, right? And at some point in time, e-commerce will also kick in. And here's why. Advertising actually, for select publishers who are focusing on building their own audience, is increasing. Classic examples again. New York Times. New York Times in the past 2 quarters has actually clocked a double-digit growth in their pure play ad revenues. Pure play digital ad revenues. This excludes podcasts completely.
At the same time, New Yorker, Slate, Washington Post, all of these leading publications are now reporting an increase in growth of their advertising revenue. And that's happening simply because all these brands have focused on building their own audience, and now and because they have built their own audience, they have far richer data about their own audience. They're able to give them or serve them with much better personalized and contextual ads. Number 2, publishers enabling commerce. What you see on the right hand side is not an Amazon website. This actually is a website of India's largest media group called Times of India. They have now actually partnered with Amazon to serve them with affiliate traffic. Publishers are finally jumping on the e-commerce bandwagon. Very simply because they have always enjoyed huge amount of traffic. They've always enjoyed amazing attention with their end users. Right? It's trying to monetize it with multiple models. Right? E-commerce being one of them. Another example of this would be Tasty from BuzzFeed. Tasty now contributes close to about $50 million to BuzzFeed's total revenue annually. In fact, it's one of the fastest profitable unit within the BuzzFeed group. Subscription economy is the future. We spoke about this a few minutes back. This graph here shows how many publishers are actually evaluating paywall as a technology solution this year. As compared to last year, paywall was not even in their roadmap. This itself is a great testament of the fact that subscription paywall are here to stay. Also, it is extremely important to understand this. Subscriber numbers is what will essentially replace TRP ratings. It is the equivalent of TRP ratings for advertisers, for them to understand, is this publisher really a brand? Because brands want to work with brands only. And a great benchmark or a great yardstick for that is how many subscribers do you have? How many people have committed to you their attention, which is what this is an equivalent for. And this is exactly why owning the audience is extremely important today for digital publishers, and this is exactly where the future lies for them. Last but not the least, think like a B2B SaaS business, experiment like an e-commerce business, create content as always, just like I've been doing all this while, like a classic media publisher. Thank you so much for your time.